The warm glow of the late summer sun, the crisp morning breeze. All the planning and anticipation is over. The 1998 Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion is here. The 1998 show featured the engineering of International Harvester, a rich, interesting collection of everything from tractors, stationary engines, lawn equipment, trucks, refrigerators, air conditioners, and more. One of the first conglomerates in American agriculture, International had the reputation for always trying something new. To appreciate the rich history of International Harvester, you have to go back to the very beginning. Farming, as our ancestors knew it, was changed forever by Cyrus McCormick and the reaper. To some, the thought of harvesting grain with a machine seemed strange, and to others, it seemed lazy. But in 1831, McCormick tested his invention and proved it could harvest 10 acres a day, compared with just 3 by a good Simon and the necessary binders and shockers. Farmers soon came to appreciate the amount of work they could accomplish with this new equipment. And McCormick's work didn't stop there. He also patented a cast iron moldboard plow that kept his family business afloat through early years. Now, nearly 150 years later, gently skating through a field of golden grain, one of Cyrus McCormick's reapers rhythmically gathers up its crop. This marvel of the past gives us a glimpse at how far we've come and the simple wisdom of days gone by. This reaper is one of the oldest working pieces of farming history. It's a treasure the organizers of the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion are proud to display. And for International Harvester lovers, it marks the first step in the journey to modern farming and to the machines they love so much. Because for many, these pieces just aren't made of metal, they're built out of memories.
Just the way, the quality that was built into them, especially the old stuff. Especially the old stuff. I mean, it was, everybody's got to have something that trips their trigger. This is it.
It's just that you like to work on old equipment. I don't care what it is. So it's old. That's simple enough. So you get dirty and greasy, and I don't mind it.
It was August 12, 1902, when International Harvester was born. The merger of McCormick and Deering turned old rivals into allies overnight.
Well, in 1902, of course, there was 5 companies that went together to form International Harvester, and then as it went on the next few years, they got Canton Plow and Weber Wagon, and they just kept, you know, swallowing up, I guess you'd say, companies or going together with companies. But yes, they've become real huge by doing that.
The Big Five were Milwaukee, Deering, McCormick, Plano, and Champion.
McCormick and Deering are probably the 2 most prominent names that people can relate to, and it's Cyrus McCormick, or the descendants of Cyrus McCormick and William Deering. And then there were other companies like Osborne and Champion, and numerous other companies that were bought by Ihc.
Some farmers say it was a good thing for many of those companies to merge and become part of International Harvester because many may have fallen by the wayside or gone bankrupt trying to compete with this new way of doing business.
They were the first corporate conglomerate or whatever. If they didn't like the competition or they liked the idea the competition had, they went and bought them out. That's how they got to be so big in such a hurry. And because of that, they were tied up in court for years, antitrust laws, this sort of thing. You won't find internationals in the state of Texas. They were banned from dealing or selling in the state of Texas until into the 30s before they finally got it settled in court. Well, think of the market that the state of Texas alone was that they missed out on, you know. They were some of the first companies to ship overseas, to do any overseas marketing at all. They were the first one to get in their fingers in that. They tried like Henry Ford. They bought, they had their own wood factories. You know, they tried to get everything under their thumb so they could control everything. They didn't have to worry about any strikes or anything like that, and they didn't want somebody else putting the screws to them, so they just bought all the companies up.
International Harvester, tractor experiments began in 1905, and the first International tractors appeared on the market in 1906. The early tractors used Morton truck chassis and the International famous gasoline engine. The first all-International tractors appeared in 1908. Titan and Mogul trademarks became famous around the world, and in 1924 they made history again with the introduction of the Farmall row crop tractor. Since then, International Harvester has been an industry leader in tractors. The organizers of the Western Minnesota Steam Threshers reunion were thrilled to have one of the original 1908 International tractors on display at this year's show. The tractor is owned by Vernon Iverson.
Well, the main thing different on this tractor, it's completely friction drive, both forwards and backwards. And that, it made it to begin with, it was pulled around with a team of horses. And the steer mainly got good. It wasn't even called a tractor. It was strictly for belt work.
We have the 1908 tractor, friction drive tractor, the first model built by IH. We go on up the line. The first 4 or 5 years, we have them all here. And a lot of these tractors, people will never see again. It's been a lot of work to get them here and a lot of trucking, but we wanted them here and we've got them.
Collectors say they love these old tractors because of the memories they hold. International was such a pervasive company with so many dealerships around the country that it was hard to find a farmer who didn't have an International machine or know someone who did. The engineering that went into these machines is what made them special. A simple internal combustion engine that farmers could easily repair and keep running for decades.
They are so simple that if the magneto sparks and the igniter's not shorted out, there's no reason for them not to run.
This 15 horsepower Mogul gas engine is the first one off the line. The serial number 501 is stamped on the side. It's the first one built in 1914.
It was built for whenever they need a little bigger belt horsepower. Now they built a lot of small engines, but this was for something like feed mills. I saw an advertising brochure where they had one of them pictured built to a rock crusher. Now this engine was originally bought by Adolph Mulvey near West Cliff, Colorado. And according to information I have been provided, he used it to pull through a small thrashing machine and a cordwood saw. I would like to see that saw rig because that drive pulley on there is 36 inches. And the normal wood saw pulley is real small.
Steve and Sylvia Bauer brought their Mogul 45 built in 1912.
The 3060, they increased the horsepower on a 3060. They made a mechanical intake valve, and this is regular aspirated intake valve on this engine. There's a difference on this engine. Some of the difference is the way the cooling has gone through and the different towers in the front and stuff like that. The originality of this engine being original shape rather than painted up and restored.
Bill Folkers found his treasure in North Dakota.
In 1920, the International, of course, as you can see, International kerosene tractor. And this thing's got 7 carburetors on it. I only use 4, but there's 7 on it. He was kind of wondering. He says, well, how come? He said, how come that there isn't many of these left? Because it was built in the same era that the 1020s were. Nobody knows. They were all scrapped, I think. Come in here, start on the second floor. A few of them were left, and that's a good thing. I have to get you to choke it, or one of these.
This is a 1910 Type V International tractor. It's gear drive forward and reverse with a hit and miss governor. This was the next step into that with a gear forward and gear reverse with two speeds forward.
John Tessie's collection includes a B International as well as 5 other rare and valuable tractors on display here at Rolog. John owns the Mogul Junior, the 45 Titan, the 1835, which is thought to be one of a kind, the 25, and the 1530 International Titan. His collection is one of the most valuable international collections in the country. And the farmers that use these machines will tell you they're good performers. They're reliable and tough.
They were real workhorses. They were a long life tractors. All the tractors in that were long life. They're today, the H&Ms basically, there's more of them in use than any other make. They're just all over the country. And talking to people here, oh, I wish I'd have brought my tractor. Well, they didn't. Now they're sorry they didn't, when they see how many are here. All the models, it's just, the country's just full of them, really.
For some, the older the machine, the better.
Oh, the machining and the casting and this sort of thing is just far superior to the vast majority of the engines that come along later. They didn't build a good engine after 1920. The old stuff is where it was, in the infancy. I think they knew more then. After 1920, they started making them cheap. Before that, price didn't matter so much. They were after quality.
And it's the unique and rare pieces that make this show so special. For the organizers, it meant a lot that so many collectors responded by bringing their valuable treasures to Rolog.
Our goal when we started was not so much to have 1,000 tractors. We wanted to have 300 tractors and every one of them different, or gas engines, all the different ones. We wanted to display the full line of International Harvester, not picking out any certain red tractors, gray tractors, gas engines, or anything. We went for the whole spectrum of International Harvester, and I think we got it. In 39, when they came with the H&M with a new, sleeker styling, more of a styled tractor, it just kind of, it gave everybody a whole outlook, the way the future was going. They took off. They were very popular. The millionth Farmall that International sold was an M in about, I think it was 41. Okay, so that's just Farmall tractors before they were standard wheel tractors. That was their way of the future. The tractor was so popular, the H's and the M's, they made them from 39 to 54. Quite a span with the same tractor. Made a few upgrades here and there, but everybody really accepted that tractor. It really took off. That was a big boost for International Harvester. Out of the biggest problem, they made a 500,000 H's and 500,000 M's. Most of them are still working. That's why they couldn't come to the show. Another feature when they came with the H's and M's, or in that era, was the fact that they had hydraulics now built into your tractor. Yeah, and with hydraulics came a lot of different implements, mounted implements, corn cultivators, stuff like that. That was so much easier to run than a hand lift, which they still had some of that also, depending on what the farmer wanted. But the invention of hydraulics really kicked that tractor off. It really made them a very useful tractor for many jobs around the farm. That's why they were called a farm haul. Through in 55 or 54 when they actually discontinued the Super MTAs and started with the next 400 and 450 series, stuff like that. Every couple of years they were changing. They were not so much changing the part of the tractor, just the outward exterior appearance of it. Engines and drive lines basically were the same up until they ran into their problems with the 560 tractor. They kept the back end the same, and they started pumping more horsepower to them, and soon realized that wasn't their way to go. In the 806 tractor, which was next to the M, probably the most popular international tractor made, that was totally redesigned and totally new tractor. The 806 and the 706. They give international a shot in the arm just as the M did back in 40. The 5 millionth farm haul built was in 74, I believe, and that was a 1066. So from their millionth farm haul in 1940 to 1974, they made a lot of farm haul tractors. Every small town, every town had a dealer, of some sort, be it whether it was a competition or whether it was harvester. A lot of the small towns had one of every dealer, and they were, back then, if you drove 20 miles to go get parts, that was a big trip. Nowadays, you go 100 and it's nothing. Anything that you could use on your farm, International Harvester had it. All the way from like I say, a tractor, they had a tillage line, they had the harvesting line, swathers, combines, and you could even haul it to the elevator in a national truck, which they were very popular. They had, like I said, air conditioners, fridges, freezers, cream separators, milk coolers, milking machines. They were a very full line farm equipment.
As far as tracks we had from the 1908 all the way up through the quad track that was built just 2 days prior to bringing it out to the show. So we had 90-some years of experience or technology out at the grounds. The same way in the trucks, we had the 1907 to a brand new Navistar over-the-road truck. So it showed from being just a basic buggy with a motor to a over-the-road $100,000 piece of equipment driving on the road. The actual lawn and garden line started in 1961, but before that they had the farm haul cub was started in 45. That was a little tractor, so to speak. That in the later years when they before they started the actual lawn and garden line, they used the cubs and the A's and the B's for mowing the yards. And in 61 they introduced the Cub Cadet line by International, and in 63 I think then it went to be an International Cub Cadet is how it was. They're still being built today under a different, still Cub Cadet, but it's by MTD and not International Harvester. And they made push mowers, they made garden tractors. I don't know, they made them up to 16, 20 horse, and then they made the Cub Lowboys. They were a 4-cylinder. The other ones were just 2-cylinder or single-cylinder. But they went from a 38-inch deck probably to a 60 or 72-inch deck. They made Nipco heaters, power washers, so it was a whole line of lawn and garden and shop. They made shop tools, wrenches, all kinds of things.